finding your purpose in the journey to life. When you investigate the development of our civilization since the Second World War, you will find a fascinating thing. Purpose has become merchandise. Purpose has become consumerism. Purpose has become the responsibility of the corporation and religion. Purpose has become something that do not honor life, that do not ensure a world that will be habitable for future generations. Because the purpose given by corporations is to give you material for happiness, while religion gives you the hope that it's all going to be fine afterwards. Common sense dictates that what comes after this must be the consequence of this life, and therefore it will be worse than this life, because you're going to face the consequence for this life, because in this life everyone is postponing the consequence. We can see that very clearly in the abuse of the planet and resources. We're living as if our resources is never going to run out, especially with our non-renewable resources and with our critical resources, oil, water, those things that determines our existence in every way. So finding your purpose in the journey to life is to understand that at some point one must stop the system that we have accepted. Obviously that looks too big, it looks like it's impossible. Yet we have created it breath by breath. We have taught our children from the moment of birth to become part of the system. We know how we create the system because we are the participants in it. If we want to change the system and create a point or a world that is best for all, we as participants must change how we participate. And we must teach our children a new way of living. But first we'll have to teach ourselves a new way of living. Within this there is now the practical, physical support and how to do this. And it is based on the principle that each human being individually can in fact, through their self-change, affect a worldwide change eventually. All it's going to do is it's going to take time. You're not going to change the world in a moment, and there's not going to be a miracle yet. By all working together and in fact changing self into a self-aversion that functions in all relationships as that which is best for all, a miracle will happen in the end, where all will come together as neighbors. All will learn how to give what they would like to receive. We'll be able to have enough resources. We'll be able to find new ways of doing things. All we have to do is investigate what we now allow and change it. That is done through a process of taking responsibility. That process of taking responsibility is a process of self-forgiveness, where you give to yourself the ability, the authority, the responsibility to take responsibility for what has been allowed, to stop what and how we live, to daily look at the patterns that have become automated, like machine-like, which we simply respond to like a form of fuzzy logic, and then we just act it out, to start participating with awareness, to forgive the patterns that is controlling your responses, that is utilizing your energy, that is utilizing your feelings, your emotions in ways that benefit the few and that cause harm to the many. Here, the simple example of the problems that is faced in the world is the fact that 2/3 of the world do not have flushing toilets. 40% of the world don't have basic sanitation, never mind water. So, for all you guys with flushing toilets, while you take a dump, you should listen to what I have to say, because otherwise you're going to turn the earth in a dump, and then you will live like those that you allow to live in squalor and in poverty right now. The process of correction is a simplistic one, and we've been preparing for this for many years, and there are now a group of people that has dedicated themselves to get to a stage where they can in fact assist you and act as your support, and they are in fact the teachers of a new world, a world that is best for all. I mean, after all, you want to have teachers that can teach you what is best for all, because that's the best teachers. So, yeah, with Destiny we have them now, and they're going to walk the process of the self-correction in writing daily for the next 7 years, which is the time at minimum that is required for physical self-change, to stop one's addiction to patterns, one's abdication of responsibility, and to stop what we're doing in this world to the point where we are no longer controlled by any external factor that impose choice on us that is based in fear or addiction or control, or in some point where we dare to be ignorant to the actual consequence. So in fact, the process over 7 years will produce you as a form of nothingness. It's like you return to the womb where you were in darkness, and then you re-emerge from it, birthed or rebirthed. This time you take responsibility, though, for everything that you become, every pattern, every point you participate in, every relationship, every consequence. And thus, once you've reached the nothingness, you'll start with the process of recreation. You'll also in fact, do an interesting thing. You will create yourself from nothing, which is, by its very definition, an act of God. So you will then, through that, prove and stand and create yourself as the image and likeness of your Creator. Because currently, in this world, you are not the image and likeness of the Creator. You are birthed from substance which you haven't created. You are living within this without understanding the consequences of what you're doing. You are not taking responsibility. You are not in fact creating yourself in anything else, but in essence various versions of evil, where one ignore completely the consequence of what one do and how it affects others that is not in your immediate environment. In this process of self-forgiveness, you're going to take responsibility for those in your immediate environment through self-forgiveness by changing the relationships in ways that is best for life. First, taking responsibility for the relationships where you have allowed yourself to stand unequal, where you have allowed yourself to become either the abused or the abuser. And through that self-forgiveness, in writing, you will find a fascinating thing happen. Slowly but surely, you will start to change. You will take responsibility. Initially, what you do is you read the writings of those that are the teachers. You read how they are walking their process, learning why, how, when, where to do the self-forgiveness and writing. Why is it important? How does it change? What have they found? Why do they do it? Because they have already changed through it. They are the evidence. That's why they're the teachers. You see, the teachers we have in our world currently teach only theory. They do not teach from practical experience. They have to believe the scientists. They have to believe the people that tell them this is the curriculum. The Destiny teachers has, in fact, practically proven to themselves that which they are teaching. You are in good hands thus, unless, obviously, by some bizarre, ignorant act, you could actually conceive that there is another way a teacher should be prepared. A teacher should be prepared through practical self-application with proven results. And we send our children to schools where the teachers don't have that. They are simply sharing knowledge without any practical understanding of the consequence, and therefore the knowledge that is given in our schools and our universities, in fact, are useless, because it do not produce a world that's better. In fact, it's getting worse. Ever since the New Age arrived, where there's been this talk about much love that will change the world, we have seen the evidence of one thing that is now reaching proportions that is astronomical. Love do not change the world. It's in fact getting worse. And daily more people are losing their jobs. No money, no love, no food. Unless you are there, you won't understand the absolute stress that a person goes through. Has love made any change in the last 30, 40 years that it's arrived since the hippie scene? Nothing whatsoever. It's become a very effective consumer product, though, with those professing love designing their products in nice words and nice pictures, in a world that in essence is one where there are great suffering. Any teacher that teaches anything that makes you feel good should not be trusted. The teacher should be one that hurts you, because the truth hurts. Only when the truth hurts do you know that you are getting somewhere. And with the process of self-forgiveness, you will face the pain, the shame, the resistance, the regret, everything about what you have allowed in ignorance, what you have ignored, regardless of the evidence. So, in this, one has got to find and realize your purpose. Your purpose is to be part of a world, part of a group, part of the human race, where you create a world that is best for all. If you're not doing that, you are harming, because there is really no alternative to what is best for all. Anything that's not best for all is going to cause harm. So if you are intentionally harming, you are a danger to the human race. And therefore you should investigate why have your actions, your intent, and your total dedication not been to produce a physical, practical life for every child born on the planet, for every animal born on the planet, for every part of life. Why are you busy with things that has got nothing to do with the practical living in this world. Why have you not made a difference? And you have to find within you the will to good, the will to do good to all, practically, physically, which must happen through a system. Therefore, the system that is created in this world will be your image and likeness. Unfortunately, the current system in the world is reflecting an image and likeness of evil, and everyone that has got power, flushing toilets, water, money in the pocket, a part of that evil. The system is you in actual functioning, and for that you are responsible, and therefore you must find it within you to give yourself the purpose to actually stop what has been allowed, and that is done in writing, physically, day by day, self-forgiveness for every pattern that you have ignored, that you've allowed to be automated, that you've allowed to exist, until you have it within you, the power, the resolve, the strength to actually stand up and stop it using the very means that is here. For instance, political means. Because after all, our laws are all made through democracy. But first one must prepare yourself to actually get beyond the fear, beyond the self-interest, and get to a point where you are in fact taking responsibility, not only for you and yours, kind of like protecting your family against the rest of the world. That is the very cause of war. You have to take responsibility for everyone in the world, realizing though that you can only directly affecting their lives by in fact changing the system to an image and likeness of that which is best for all life. That would be an actual divine system. That would be an actual benevolent system. And that requires the participation of all that is creating the system. And who is creating the system? Those with flushing toilets, those with money in the pocket, those that has an elitist life, that can actually participate in it. The rest is excluded and are in fact slaves. To scream that you're a slave when you have money in the pocket, or you have internet, or you have a flushing toilet, that is simplistically just the denial of your own stupidity. You are in fact purely trying to find a way to abuse others so you can feel better about yourself. Don't worry, you're already abusing everyone that is suffering in this world. It is time to stop and find a practical way, let the ego go, and walk together as the human race in a process that is equal, so that you can measure each other's actions, and through that establish trust, accountability, and a way forward, so that when we get to the point where we have reached the nothingness, where we have stopped the system, we can create a new system that in fact supports all life, and that is in fact what is best for all. And that is done through, with the writing, your self-commitment, through self-honesty, to the written practical layout, the blueprint of how to dedicate yourself to what is best for all, how to change the system, how to change you, how to change the part you play in it, why to change it. So you first do self-forgiveness, taking responsibility and understanding what now exists. Then you do the self-correction through self-commitment, so that by the time you reach your point of nothingness, where you are no longer controlled by the system, you can in fact walk and bring into effect your self-commitment that you have already placed for yourself, and start practically living it. Obviously, along the way you will start doing parts of it already, but much of it you cannot do immediately, because the system of control is extensive. And therefore you can make the commitment, but not necessarily immediately change what you're doing. That will come in time. First, though, it is important to walk within the realization of a purpose given to yourself to bring about a world that is best for all, and to do it in your immediate environment. That means where you are with the people in your environment through breath by breath, showing, teaching, becoming the solution through which a new world is birthed, so that each one in your environment can also see and understand and join you in this most benevolent task to do what many would see as impossible: change the very nature of the human from evil to good, because there is no human that can claim, when they have money in the pocket or a flushing toilet, that they are good. They are in fact evil. You have ignored the obvious. So therefore, shame on you. Forgive yourself for the shame immediately. But, yes, shame on you that you have dared to ignore the obvious, that you have dared to not actually consider that there is something you can do, and that it would mean you have to let go of your ego, because you have to walk within the group called humanity. You have to let go of your perception of what is so wonderful, special, great, intellectual. You are not that, because if you were a highly advanced intellectual human, you would have come up with a system that is best for all life. You would be able in an instant to realize that the only possible answer to a world of peace, and a world that will be one that ensure that every child born, in fact, will have the best possible chance, is a world that is based on what is best for all. But you haven't. In fact, you've deliberately ignored it, and you have reveled in your specialness. Isn't that evil while the suffering goes on? It is time to stop and forgive yourself, because through forgiveness you give yourself the authority, you give yourself the authenticity, you give yourself the power, you give yourself the responsibility, you give yourself the ability, the way to bring about a world that is best for all life. Through those self-commitments, you can check for yourself that your commitment is actually practically possible and practically aligned. And those that is already walking the process, you'll be able to read their writings as well, and you can cross-check that the practicalities are clearly understood, and you can see where you are reacting with your self-interest, so you can actually forgive yourself. And through this, give yourself a purpose that is worthwhile. Give yourself a purpose and a meaning that will have a result not only for you but also for your children. That will have a result not only for you but also for all other living beings. Having the result that you can actually create yourself as a divine being, as a benevolent being. Real simplicity. Waiting for your realization. Waiting for your self-awareness. Self-awareness, by very definition, is to be aware of what is going on in this reality, and if you become aware of it, to change it so that it, in fact, serve self-awareness within the context of what is best for all life. Not doing that will bear consequence. After all, how can one expect to live in a world which is obviously not what is best for all, and then expect that after you die, you're going to go to a world that is better? If you have not faced consequence in this reality, you're going to face consequence after death. And it's going to be based on what you have allowed. And every time you have a flushing toilet, or you use money, or you use the internet, or you use a telephone, or you use a car, you are in fact completely admitting that you are part of the abuse of this world. And you cannot live without these things. It's not possible, not at the place where we are with 7 billion people on the planet. We require great amounts of automation to assist with a life of excellence. So it's worthwhile to investigate the ultimate act of mercy, which is only something a benevolent being can do, which is the act to introduce a system that will allow all those that have no access to even these words, or have no access to flushing toilets, or have no access to a way to actually change themselves through self-forgiveness, to give them that opportunity. And for that you investigate an equal money system, because that will be the quickest way we can resolve the inequalities, to allow all to participate in a process of changing human nature from evil to good. Obviously, if you find difficulty with my words, you should really investigate yourself, because scientifically, mathematically, and within all context of all possible relationships, the destiny message is the message that in every way measurably have an outcome that is best for all life. And those that has got a problem with it can only have such because they are deliberately willing to harm. Yes, so the destiny message is going to expose who's who in this zoo. And we ask you to stop and to consider what you do, and to start with a simple process of taking the blocks of these people that has dedicated their life to support you. Read it aloud, their self-forgiveness and their self-commitments. Do it for 21 days and watch how you start to change. And that is where you haven't even written a word for yourself yet. You've only shared in someone else's process. Then find it within you to give yourself purpose, to become part of a solution on earth that is best for all life. I mean, you wish that upon yourself so many times, but there are all these excuses that are certainly not supposed to be coming from a creation that is being created by a benevolent God, apparently. So there are many questions one will have to relook at. But the fascinating thing about the process of destiny is that it presents a practical process that requires no intervention from any alien, any savior, any master, any guru, anyone. It is in fact a process of equality, and that's the first step to equality, to eventually create yourself as life and do the miraculous, where you take you as the nothing you have become due to letting go of the system, and creating you as life itself, which is an act of God. That is miraculous and equal available to everyone, as is the process equally available. All the support in terms of this for the next 7 years is freely available. It only requires a little bit of time from you. It doesn't require you to change anything you're doing. It doesn't require you to stop working. It doesn't require you to do anything, but to give yourself the opportunity to, at the very least, read aloud the self-forgiveness and self-commitment statements of those that's already walking, and then to find it within yourself to walk with. Obviously, those that want to do more can do so. There are a DIP process, which is the Destiny I process, where one is trained to take more responsibility. That works on a principle of self-honesty. If you can afford to pay for it, then you do. If you can't, it's free. It's really simplistic. Do you have any other points like that? No. But understand the simplicity of a process of self-responsibility. You claim to have free choice. Therefore, the choice exists within that possible choices, the choice that is best for all life. If you have to look at all choice, then there is only one choice that in fact is benevolent, that is in fact divine, and that is in fact good. It is the choice that is best for all life. All the other ones will have some form of effect and consequence that will be harmful, and therefore, by definition, will be evil. It is time to take a stand and decide who you are and who you're going to be. And realize the world is the way it is because of you and me, unless we change the very nature we have accepted. And that comes from very deliberate programming through the years, especially since the Second World War, to give power to the few that benefit from the profit of control. By controlling information, by controlling what you think, by controlling the images you see, by controlling the food you eat, by controlling the jobs that's available, while they claim to be benevolent by making things cheaper and cheaper. But when they make things cheaper, they also have to cut more jobs, and we are seeing that effect in the world very clearly now. As things are becoming more readily available around the world and it becomes more cheaper, less people have jobs and more is unemployed. We are looking at astronomical problems. For instance, let's take a country like Spain, where 50% of the youth are unemployed. Do you understand the frustration that happens? Do you understand the stress? Do you understand what you're doing? Make sure you investigate, because we as Destiny will not go away. We can't be stopped, because we walk individually, one by one, together, committed to bring about what is best for all life. Inevitably, you're going to have to let go of your ego and join us, because we're not imposing on you anything whatsoever. We are showing you that it is possible to change the world, and we are showing you that you have not, in fact, considered the simplicity of a practical, physical change in the world. Yes, it will take many years, but the result is already proven in those that is walking it. We are also showing you that your self-interest, in fact, makes it impossible for you to realize that you can make a difference. So start with self-forgiveness. See what others have done. Walk in their shoes. Walk in the shoes of Jesus. We have taken the Jesus message and we have made it a practical, living solution that can be implemented by every human on earth, bringing about the result that Jesus foresaw. Become the second coming. Give yourself the purpose to be, wherever you are, the foundation, the pillar of a new world. And from a new world, we will also create a new heaven. And you will notice, through the process of self-forgiveness, we'll bring an end to the old world until there is nothing. Until there is no needs that is based on self-interest anymore. And we'll be measured at that point by ourselves and found that there is nothing we want. We are no longer wanting. And therefore we are free from what we have allowed. And we are then free to truly create freedom for all, abundance for all, a world that's best for all. You wish it upon your own children. If you don't create it, it's never going to be. Join us. There are forums, there's support, there are teachers that is writing to support you. There is many interviews, books, you name it. investigate us. We're doing this for you and for ourselves. Join us in giving yourself a purpose to create a world that is best for all life, and show that you too love your neighbor as yourself.